Hello, miladies of inestimable value. The day a woman realizes she doesn't need permission to walk away is the day she becomes dangerous. There's a limit to everything, even a Sigma female's patience. And when she's had enough, it's not fireworks or a dramatic breakdown, it's something far more unsettling. Studies show that when people emotionally detach, they don't just lose interest, they erase the source of their frustration from their minds completely. Now imagine a Sigma female, someone already wired to be independent and unbothered, reaching her breaking point. It's not just a shift, it's a full-blown system reboot. And when she powers back on, you're not even in her memory bank anymore. She won't throw tantrums, send paragraphs, or stage some grand exit. No, she moves like a ghost, silent, strategic, and suddenly out of reach. And the scariest part, by the time you realize she's done, she's already rebuilt herself into someone who doesn't even acknowledge your existence. If you've ever wondered what happens when a Sigma female finally says, "I'm done," buckle up, because this is where the real story begins. Number 1. She rebuilds herself in a way that makes people regret ever underestimating her. When a Sigma female reaches her breaking point, she doesn't just walk away. She reinvents herself so profoundly that the people who doubted, underestimated, or mistreated her barely recognize the person she becomes. She doesn't just move on, she upgrades, evolves, and turns every ounce of pain into something unshakable. What's truly unsettling is that she doesn't do this for revenge. She's not trying to prove a point. She's simply done wasting her time, energy, and emotions on things and people that were never worthy in the first place. She takes every disappointment, every betrayal, every moment of exhaustion and channels it into a transformation so seamless that it looks effortless. While others wallow, she recalibrates. While others seek closure, she creates her own by shifting her focus entirely to herself. It's not a performance. She doesn't need applause or validation. She just silently builds a life so fulfilling that those who took her for granted suddenly realize, too late, that they were never needed. People who once dismissed her will struggle to believe it's the same woman they once knew. She won't lash out, she won't dwell, and she definitely won't be available for desperate attempts at reconnection. What used to hurt her now fuels her. What once held her back now propels her forward. And here's the kicker, she doesn't even think about those who wronged her. They don't exist in her upgraded reality. Regret will hit them like a brick wall. They'll scroll through her life from a distance, realizing she's glowing in ways they never expected. She's surrounded by better people, thriving in better environments, and carrying an energy so untouchable that even an apology would feel like an insult to her progress. But she won't hold grudges. She simply won't care. This is what makes her transformation so powerful. She doesn't seek revenge, but her success feels like a punishment to those who never believed in her. Not because she planned it that way, but because nothing unsettles people more than seeing someone they once underestimated become completely untouchable. And by the time they realize what they lost, she's already 5 steps ahead, too busy building a life that no longer includes them. Number 2. She makes it so that no one can ever hurt her in the same way again. Pain is a brutal teacher, but a Sigma female is an even sharper student. When she's been hurt, betrayed, or pushed past her limits, she doesn't just heal, she adapts. She studies every detail of what went wrong, not to dwell on it, but to make sure it never happens again. She doesn't just move on, she restructures her entire mindset, her boundaries, and her approach to people. If someone exploited her kindness, she recalibrates and becomes more selective with her energy. If she trusted the wrong person, she sharpens her intuition and raises her standards. If she tolerated disrespect, she learns to cut ties faster and cleaner than before. She doesn't build walls. She builds a fortress with gates that only open for those who prove they belong. The next time someone tries to pull the same stunt, they find themselves hitting a brick wall where there used to be an open door. The beauty of her resilience is that she doesn't become bitter or paranoid, just wiser and more precise in who and what she allows into her life. She forgives herself for past mistakes, but she never repeats them. The lesson is carved into her mind so deeply that even if she's tempted to give someone the benefit of the doubt, a single red flag is enough to remind her why she stopped playing that game. People who once had access to her may try to come back, thinking she's the same person who tolerated their nonsense before. But she isn't. That version of her doesn't exist anymore. What makes this so powerful is that it's not a performance. She doesn't have to tell people she's changed. They feel it. They sense the shift in her energy, the unwavering certainty in her boundaries, the quiet but undeniable confidence that says, "You will never get the chance to hurt me in that way again." And she means it, because once she learns, she never forgets. Number 3, she doesn't seek closure. She creates it herself. A Sigma female understands that closure isn't something you beg for, it's something you take. She doesn't sit around waiting for an apology that may never come, and she definitely won't waste her breath demanding explanations from people who don't respect her enough to be honest. If someone wrongs her, betrays her, or suddenly disappears, she doesn't go into detective mode trying to piece together why. She doesn't stalk social media for clues or reread old messages looking for hidden meanings. She accepts reality as it is and moves accordingly. Her closure comes from a simple but powerful decision. She's done, that's it. No endless conversations, no one last talk, no giving people the chance to gaslight or manipulate her into staying. She ties up her own loose ends by deciding that she deserves better, and that's all the closure she needs. While others spiral in confusion, trying to get inside someone's head, she redirects her focus back to herself. This is what makes her so untouchable. She doesn't wait for someone else to free her. She frees herself. And when she walks away, it's with zero regrets, and even less interest in revisiting the past. The best part? By the time the other person realizes they should have given her the closure she deserved, she's already moved so far ahead that their words wouldn't mean a thing. Number 4, she becomes unshakably indifferent, not even a flicker of emotion left. When a Sigma female has truly had enough, she doesn't explode, she erases. The anger, the sadness, the frustration, gone. Not suppressed, not hidden, just gone. And that's what makes it so unnerving. You could try to provoke her, guilt trip her, or even apologize, but you'll get nothing. No reaction, no emotion, not even the satisfaction of knowing she's still thinking about you. Because she isn't. You've been processed, categorized, and permanently filed under irrelevant. This isn't the silent treatment. It's complete emotional detachment. There's no bitterness, no resentment, just indifference so deep it's almost chilling. You don't exist in her world anymore, not in her thoughts, not in her conversations, and certainly not in her future. People expect drama when relationships fall apart. They expect tears, anger, long-winded texts, maybe even a meltdown. But with her, nothing. Just a quiet, effortless shift where one day you were in her life and the next you might as well be a stranger she passed on the street. And that's what really stings. Not the loss itself, but the realization that she feels nothing about it. Not sadness, not regret, just a complete absence of care. It's the kind of indifference that can't be faked. And by the time you notice it, it's already too late. Number 5. She doesn't just move on. She evolves into an even more unstoppable force. A Sigma female doesn't just move on. She levels up so drastically that the people who once underestimated her can barely comprehend who she's become. She doesn't waste time plotting revenge or proving points. She simply evolves. The version of her that tolerated disrespect, second-guessed herself, or ignored red flags, dead and buried. What replaces her is someone sharper, stronger, and completely untouchable. She takes every disappointment, every betrayal, and every ounce of pain and turns it into fuel. While others might break down or linger in the past, she rebuilds herself into something so powerful that looking back becomes unnecessary. Her mindset shifts, her standards rise, and her energy becomes impenetrable. She no longer explains herself, seeks validation, or gives second chances to those who never deserved the first. What's truly unsettling is how effortlessly she does it. No dramatic declarations, no emotional outbursts, just quiet, steady transformation. One day she's there, accessible, maybe even forgiving. The next, she's operating on a completely different frequency, one that the people who wronged her can no longer reach. They'll try to reconnect, to remind her of who she used to be, but they'll quickly realize she's not playing the same game anymore. She's not bitter. She's just done. And the most terrifying part? She didn't evolve to prove them wrong. She evolved because she finally put herself first. Number 6, she won't argue. she'll just hand you the rope to hang yourself. A Sigma female knows that arguing with fools is a waste of breath, so she won't bother. She won't sit there debating, pleading, or justifying herself. Instead, she'll step back, watch, and let you unravel yourself with your own words and actions. She understands one brutal truth: people always expose themselves given enough time. So rather than engaging in pointless back and forths, she lets the inevitable happen. If you lie, she won't call you out. She'll just let you trip over your own contradictions. If you try to manipulate her, she won't argue. She'll simply let your behavior speak for itself. She won't lift a finger to destroy you because she doesn't need to. You'll do that all on your own. And by the time reality smacks you in the face, when the lies collapse, when the consequences hit, and when you're looking around for sympathy or a second chance, she won't be there. She'll be too busy thriving, unreachable, and completely unbothered. This is what makes her so infuriating to those who try to play games with her. She doesn't react, she doesn't fight, she just lets things unfold. And by the time you realize what happened, you're standing in the mess you created, and she's already moved on to bigger and better things. Number 7. She becomes brutally unfiltered, and it's like getting hit by a verbal sniper. When a Sigma female reaches her breaking point, the filter is gone. Normally, she's calculated with her words, choosing them carefully to avoid unnecessary drama. But once she's done with you, she doesn't hold back. She'll say exactly what's on her mind, and it won't be sugar-coated, softened, or wrapped in polite diplomacy. It's not an emotional outburst or an attempt to hurt. It's just the unfiltered truth, delivered with sniper precision. And here's the thing. She's not screaming, she's not being petty, and she's definitely not looking for a reaction. She's simply stating facts, cold and sharp, with zero fluff. It's the kind of truth that hits like a bullet because deep down, you know she's right. You know you can't argue against it. There's no room for excuses or manipulation because she's not playing that game. The most unsettling part? She won't even stick around to see how you process it. She'll drop the truth and leave, with no interest in debating or hearing your justifications. Because in her mind, she's not attacking you. She's freeing herself. She's saying what needed to be said, not for your benefit, but for hers. And once it's out, she's done. No regrets, no guilt, just a clean, sharp ending that leaves you with nothing but the weight of the truth you tried to ignore. Number 8. She redefines ghosting. This is psychological evaporation. When a Sigma female decides she's done, she doesn't just walk away, she makes it so you were never there to begin with. This isn't the standard ghosting where someone ignores messages but still lurks in the background. No, this is psychological evaporation. She systematically erases you from her world, not out of anger, but because you no longer hold relevance. She deletes the messages, removes the photos, and blocks every possible way you could reach her. Not in a dramatic look-at-me way, but in a way so clean and final that it feels as if you never existed. She won't stalk your social media, she won't ask mutual friends about you, and she won't secretly hope you reach out. In her mind, she has already moved past the point where you even matter, and that's what makes it so brutal. It's not just silence, it's complete erasure. You could try to provoke her, guilt-trip her, or even apologize, but it won't work. Because she's not ignoring you to teach a lesson. She's ignoring you because, in her reality, you are no longer a factor. No second chances, no lingering thoughts. Just an unshakable sense of detachment that makes it clear she has already outgrown whatever role you once played in her life. Number 9, she no longer sees people as special, only as replaceable or worth keeping. When a Sigma female has had enough, the illusion shatters. She stops romanticizing people and starts seeing them for exactly who they are. She no longer falls for potential excuses or carefully crafted masks. The emotional pedestal she once placed certain people on? Gone. Now you're either someone who adds value to her life, or someone she can discard without hesitation. There is no sentimental middle ground. This shift isn't cold, it's necessary. She has learned the hard way that putting the wrong people on a pedestal only leads to disappointment. She sees through the charm, the empty promises, and the sweet words that don't align with real actions. Now, she observes, she evaluates, and she categorizes. Are you genuine? Do you bring peace? Are you consistent? If not, she doesn't hate you. She just doesn't need you. What's unsettling is how effortlessly she makes this distinction. She no longer clings to toxic bonds, and she doesn't entertain people out of loneliness or obligation. If you are worth keeping, she'll invest in you. If you prove to be a liability, she won't argue, she won't explain. She will simply detach, leaving no room for second guessing. And once you're out, there's no coming back. Not out of spite, but because she's reached a level where only genuine, valuable connections deserve a seat at her table. Number 10. She no longer gives a damn about society's expectations. When a Sigma female has had enough, society's expectations become nothing more than background noise. She no longer cares about fitting into molds that were never designed for her in the first place. The need for approval, gone. The pressure to conform, irrelevant. She realizes that playing by society's rules only kept her shackled to standards that never served her. Now, she operates on her terms, and that's when she becomes truly untouchable. She stops explaining herself. She doesn't care if people misunderstand her choices, her lifestyle, or her silence. She no longer wastes time proving her worth to those who can't comprehend it. If her decisions make others uncomfortable, that's their problem, not hers. She wears what she wants, speaks how she wants, and moves through life in a way that makes sense to her, not according to outdated expectations. This shift is what makes her so powerful. Society loses all control over her because there's nothing left to manipulate. She's not chasing validation, she's not seeking permission, and she's certainly not waiting for the world to accept her. By detaching completely, she becomes a force that can't be pressured, guilt-tripped, or boxed in. And the best part? She doesn't make a spectacle out of it, she just is. While others stress over fitting in, she's too busy living life on a level most people will never reach. When a Sigma female has had enough, she doesn't break, she transforms. She doesn't beg, explain, or look back. She evolves into a version so unshakable, so untouchable, that those who once took her for granted can't even recognize her anymore. She doesn't seek revenge, but she doesn't need to. Her silence, her growth, and her complete detachment are enough to leave an unforgettable impact. She moves through life on her own terms, stripped of illusions, free from expectations, and immune to manipulation. The pain that once held her back becomes fuel for something greater, something unstoppable. She no longer wastes energy on people who don't deserve it. She doesn't give warnings, second chances, or explanations. She simply chooses herself, and in doing so, she becomes the kind of woman who cannot be controlled, broken, or defined by anyone but herself. And that's the ultimate power. When she's done, she's done. No drama, no theatrics, no lingering doubts. Just a clean, silent, undeniable exit that leaves the world wondering how they ever thought they could contain her in the first place. If this resonated with you, don't just sit there. Hit that subscribe button and join a community that values strength, independence, and unapologetic self-growth. Like the video if you're done tolerating nonsense, comment below with your thoughts, and let's keep this conversation going. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share it with them. Because the more we embrace this mindset, the less we settle for anything less than what we deserve.